Hey, so before I start this video, I just want to make sure that some of you guys have restricted mode off. If you didn't know, recently YouTube has been turning on restricted mode for some users automatically. And due to that, certain videos are hidden for people with restricted mode on. And recently, I found out that some of my videos have actually been hidden from YouTube due to restricted mode. It also disables you from commenting from my posts, which is bad because that's kind of the point of my videos at the moment. So yeah, check in your YouTube settings on whether or not you have restricted mode off, so you don't miss out on any of my content as well as participate in one of my videos. With that being said, hello everyone! Welcome back to another video where we talk about levels and see whether or not we like them. And today's video topic is about good deco but bad gameplay. Pretty self-explanatory when there's a level with good decoration but has bad gameplay. I was gonna say something more, but this intro is already long enough because of that warning I just did. I have done this topic before, but I want to see what you guys have to offer. Also, before I start, I keep forgetting to say this in my more recent vids, but don't send hate to any of the creators or levels involved, because at the end of the day, this is just fun and games. Honestly, it's not that deep. But as usual, I asked you guys in my community post to suggest some levels for this topic specifically. But before we go with your examples, let me talk about my example first. Submerged by Subwoofer. I've said this multiple times, but I just love how Subwoofer approaches like decoration. If you guys want to try and implement some sort of story or atmosphere in your levels, then I suggest you try and study Subwoofer's levels and why certain things work. And Submerge is definitely one of them. The level feels so calm yet so menacing at the same time. The water theming in this level is executed so well, and with details like jellyfishes, seaweeds, and pufferfish really adds a lot to the level and makes it more immersive without being too detailed on the art style. However, I will note that the gameplay is notably not my favorite. There's just so much things in this level that just feels awkward to play. Like the first robot has some really weird jumps and some odd timings, and don't get me started on the UFO. Listen, in concept, it's actually like pretty cool how you have to like hide from the monsters using the blocks that were provided for you in the background. But the execution of it is not the best, maybe? I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes some of the gaps in that UFO section just feels a bit too tight. And some of the click patterns are just kind of odd to do. The other parts besides that aren't any better either, especially the ending. I think the ending could have worked, but the problem with it is that it's a bit too short. Like, I think if it went a bit longer, it would have been more fun. And I get it's the fault of the music, but like still. But overall, I think Submerge has some pretty cool ideas in the decoration and even in some of the gameplay. But the gameplay's execution leaves a lot to be desired. But with that out of the way, let's see what you guys have to offer. In Sanity, it has a really cool decoration in my opinion, and the second drop is really cool, but about the gameplay, it's inconsistent and the cloud part is practically a 7-star, while the drops are much more difficult. I don't know how it's not a hard demon. Yeah, no, I didn't like Insanity when I first played it either. Decoration-wise, it's SirPunch. There's a reason why a lot of people, when discussing about goated creators, SirPunch is always one of those people. Besides pioneering the minigame genre, he's just really good at decorating. Insanity is definitely one of them in the decoration aspect. Granted, I do think that the theming is a bit all over the place, but it doesn't really matter because the way SirPunch decorates it is pretty cool, especially for its time. Like, why is there a chainsaw in the middle of the level? I don't know, but is it really cool? Yeah. And the first time I saw those buzzsaws and the chainsaw, it just blew my mind the first time I saw them. However, I will admit that the gameplay is really flawed, and as this person said, it is kind of inconsistent in its difficulty. Here's the thing, I don't think unbalanced gameplay automatically means the gameplay is bad, but in some cases, it can be a bit of a problem. The first group can be a bit annoying to play with its timing, but hey, you kinda expect that from a medium demon. And then the first drop. The first drop, well, not the hardest thing ever, can most definitely throw off some players the first time playing it. Especially the one random mini wave section in the middle of a normal wave. Like, come on, at least make it so that you have to hold in the small mini wave part before you transition back into the normal wave. But then after that, it's like the easiest thing ever. Like the cloud part is very straightforward, and the second drop is literally the most open duel ever. But I think the worst offender is the UFO after the duel. It is so weird to play, and you can even miss a speed portal at one of the parts. But then after that, once again, it's like the easiest thing ever, and then ramps up the difficulty again in the last wave. I do still think it's a medium demon, but I can see how a lot of new players will get thrown off by some of the aspects in the level. Wellbeing spot, it has a nice deco but pretty unbalanced gameplay, especially at the ship drop and the wave part. Yeah, but I kinda still love it for some reason. Like, I'm not just gonna pretend that the bullet hell wave section is like the best gameplay ever, it's not. But with the context that this was made by 2003 Devon, things start getting a bit more complicated. 2003 gameplay is, simply put, unconventional. But the thing is, I'm pretty sure he's fully well aware of that. He fully acknowledges that the gameplay is not the best thing ever. But I feel like that's his goal, considering the stuff he makes. And I don't know, it just makes a lot of his level have this sort of charm to them. Decoration wise, I will say this is one of the more tamer 2003 Devon levels, considering the stuff he makes. It actually has a coherent theming for once. So overall, I'm not gonna stand here and say that Wellbeing Spot or 2003 Devon levels in general have some pretty awesome gameplay, but I still kinda love it regardless, because it was made by 2003 Devon. Astral Divinity, the decoration is really good and so is the sound, but when it comes to the gameplay, it's really bad. At least that's what I've heard from Victor's. Would have been top 50 levels of all time if it was more fun. Yeah, it's rough. Decoration wise, it's really nice. Lawlbit is kind of the pioneer of modern art decoration, and Astral Divinity is definitely one proof of that. It's probably considered one of the most detailed Geometry Dash levels at the time. And while some of you may call it glow slop, I still really like it. Now the gameplay, that's a whole nother story. When I heard what Technical said about Astral Divinity in his ranking of his extreme demons that he's beaten, I was like, I know I haven't checked on the level lately, but surely it can't be that bad gameplay wise, right? It was kind of bad. The worst offender has got to be like the ship parts. So many of the parts just has such weird ship controls. Like even from the first ship, you already start seeing some cracks with some really awkward ship movements. And for some reason, Lawlbit is obsessed with curved flying, especially tight ones. But besides the ship gameplay being really bad, I think a lot of the transitions are also kind of bad. Especially the ones in the wave, because oh my god, that first wave is not fun. And Lawlbit had the brightest idea to do some of the weirdest mini wave to normal wave transitions ever. So yeah, decoration wise, I really like Astral Divinity, but gameplay wise, it's not the best thing ever. White's album for me, the deco is very good and builds a very desolate and unique atmosphere, but the gameplay just is not it. It's good gameplay, but some parts are unnecessarily hard compared to the others. I had to check this level out and I can see where this person is coming from. The decoration is oddly calming. It's not like the most eye-catching thing ever. In fact, I'd argue that this is some of the most simplistic and sort of amateurish decoration I've seen in the more recent times. But that's not like an insult whatsoever. It makes the level feel more calm and in a way kind of nostalgic. It adds to the like snowy atmosphere of the level. It's actually kind of impressive on how much this level makes me feel without doing too much. The gameplay can be pretty off-putting. I will say that it didn't start off too bad. Like the minikube is pretty straightforward. The robot is where it kind of starts seeing its problems. Some of the jumps in the robot part, it feels pretty weird, especially the very first jump. But you know, it's not like the worst thing ever. It's a bit unconventional, but you'll get the hang of it. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that the wave legitimately jump scared me. Like I feel like I don't need to say why. But look at it. You expect me to do some tight wave movements after that robot? Come on. And this is considered a beginner extreme? Alright bro. The UFO after that is also pretty weird. Like I've never been a fan of those like dash orb and then click UFO gameplay. However, I will say that the ship part after that is actually pretty fun. So kudos to the creator and the level for that one. But then the ending also kinda threw me off with gameplay that looks like it came straight out of Rust. So yeah, the gameplay is not like my favorite thing ever. It can be awkward to play at some points. But I will say that watching the gameplay is actually quite interesting and got me a bit more mesmerized watching the level. So maybe the gameplay adds to the atmosphere, but playing it maybe takes a bit of time to grow. I think a good example of this would be a level I beat pretty recently, The Moon Below by Onvil. I think the decoration of the level is pretty good for the most part. It does a lot to try to fit the calm vibes of the song with its minimalistic style, and the fact it does so in under 18k objects is something I can really commend. However, the gameplay of the level is something I personally absolutely despise. Most of the difficulty from the cube comes from the scattered choke point timings that I could never do for the life of me get down. This alongside the fact that the first 15% of the level was the easiest part, made for an absolutely miserable playing experience throughout. Furthermore, the song being so laid back also comes as a bit of a detriment to the gameplay, as a lot of the time the gameplay does not sync up with the song at all. In fact, because of the song's laid backness, there are multiple points where the level hilariously tries to slip clicks in while nothing is actually happening in the song itself. Also, about a third of the level is auto, not something you see very often in an extreme that's around digital descent difficulty. This one's an interesting one. I do agree that the Moon Below's decoration is really atmospheric, with the way certain objects just disappear, and really the whole level just feels really minimalistic. But the gameplay is kind of weird to talk about. I will say that it is traditionally will not be fun for a lot of Geometry Dash players, but it almost feels like that's kind of the point of the level. And I know that excuse has been thrown around for a lot of levels, but if done right, gameplay can really add to a level's theming. And the Moon Below is, I think, one of those examples. At first, you might not think about it too much about it. It's just a fairly simplistic level like Congregation. But I have heard theories that it may be an allegory for Alzheimer's, which is why the reason why certain blocks just disappear just like that. And often, I can definitely see where they're going with it. And the frustrating gameplay can definitely add to the theming of the level. So I will say that the gameplay, yes, is not that fun to play with, but it does help in the favor of the level itself. For me, it's Reanimation. The deco is pretty good for like early 2.0 or whenever it was made, but the gameplay actually makes me want to bash my head at a wall. There are 2 huge cutscenes with not a lot of time to react to the gameplay after them. The gameplay itself is also horrible, really inconsistent, and in some places buggy. Every single UFO part is also hella inconsistent. Nah, I fully disagree with you on this one. I think Reanimation has great gameplay. I think it has some great intensity into it. And no, there are ample of time for you to react after those 2 big cutscenes that you mentioned. I mean, Geometry Dash requires you to have quick thinking, so I don't know, just practice it a bit more. I do agree that some of the UFO parts are a bit weird, but other than that, I think Reanimation is like a really fun XL level. And yeah, decoration wise is pretty good. It's definitely a good successor to Death Moon. Even if I don't think the decoration is as good, it's still a pretty good successor. Moving forward is the best level that fits this topic. Yeah, it is. A bit of a shame, honestly. Crone's gameplay, while not like the best thing ever, has always been such a joy to play, for me at least. Glide was most definitely a top 7 level for me. And while I don't have the skills to beat Sunset Sandstorm, I enjoyed playing it in practice mode. But moving forward hurts the most because of 2 things. One is probably the best decorated level that he has. In fact, at some points, it made me like cry tears of joy just because of how beautiful it looks. 2, this is his farewell level. And listen, I don't have the skills to beat moving forward, but even from practice mode in itself, I can tell that there are some issues with it. Like the timings in the first cube are just absolutely horrendous. The part after it is also kind of jank with some of the orb clicks. The job's a bit better, but that's not really saying much. I didn't like playing the robot part at all. And the last hit also just has a lot of weird timings. And this being a sequel to Glide, I think the gameplay is a bit of a downgrade. Decoration wise, I think it's a great successor to Glide. Well, that's the end of the video. Do you guys want a sequel for this topic specifically? let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll put up another community post with this topic specifically. Speaking of comments, if you have a good idea for a video, make sure to leave it in the comments as well, because I'm kind of running out. If you want to participate in one of these videos, make sure to subscribe, since I post these questions every once in a while. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, since I'm trying to hit 7K by the end of the year. Oh, and if you want to support me even further, make sure to check out my VGen, where you can commission a headshot, half body, full body, a banner, or a thumbnail. That's all I have for you today. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.